right, gonna talk about another episode of The Prisoner. This time we'll be talking about the episode titled The Schizoid Man, written by Terrence Feely, directed by Pat Jackson. This episode was first broadcast on October 27th, 1967. It stars Anton Rogers as number 2, Jane Miro as number 24. She actually has a name in this episode. It's Curtis, Allison. Her name is Allison. Curtis is the name of number 12, who is also played by Patrick McGoohan. Now, as always, you can watch the episode. The links are in the description box. Watch the episode, then come here. We'll talk about it real quick. So, plot synopsis on this one opens up with the character Jane Miro as Allison, number 24, doing like a card mind reading game with Patrick McGoohan, where he's looking at a card and she's telling him what it is. Think of Ghostbusters when Peter Venkman is doing the card game with the pretty blonde girl, and the other guy gets an electric shock every time he gets it wrong. It's the same thing here. I don't know if they lifted that from The Prisoner or what, but yeah. So it's the same thing. They have a pretty good link with each other, or a psychic link. So obviously in the world of The Prisoner, psychic premonition or psychic telepathy, whatever you want to call it, is real, like ESP. So what happens is that number 2 brings in a doppelganger for number 6, number 12. And then they basically drug number 6 and give him aversion therapy so that he is averse to his normal breakfast of bacon and eggs. He is averse to using his right hand. They make him use his left hand. They're like shocking him while he's drugged every time he tries to grab something with his right hand. So he's like basically been programmed to hate white cigarettes and cigars and only smoke black cigarettes, left-handed of course. And they also make him like love flapjacks. He gets like messaged in his mind like, "You love flapjacks," or "Flapjacks are my favorite dish." Now, going back to the beginning when he was testing with Allison, because that's something I forgot. We've got Chekhov's bruise in this one, because when Allison takes a photo of number 2, okay, she accidentally smashes his finger. I don't think it's his thumb. I think it's his pointer finger. She smashes his finger and leaves a bruise like at the base of his finger. So that's going to come back later in the episode. Okay, but essentially he's drugged, and number 2 gives him the whole plan, right? As if number 6 is number 12 and is telling him, "Look, we switched places. You're him, and you have to make him think that it's really complicated, that he's you and you're him, in order to mentally break him." So yeah, things are going crazy, and then it gets to a point where they do a fingerprint test or fingerprint analysis, and number 12 has number 6's thumbprint. And he goes, "Well, I don't believe, science can be fooled, whatever." So he calls in Allison, the psychic girl from the beginning, and they do the card test, and number 6 fails. And then number 12, the real number 12, who is pretending to be number 6, gets all the matches. And then Allison says, like, "There is an easier way to figure this out, he has a mole on his wrist." And then number 6 looks, and his mole is no longer there, but number 12 has the mole. So he's about to break. Like, mentally, number 6 is cracking up and actually starting to come apart. But when he wakes up in the morning, he sees the bruise, okay, on his fingernail that's now moved up like halfway. And he realizes that a lot more time has passed than just the one day that they're trying to make him think has passed. So he shocks himself with a lamp that's like shorting out, which, like, bro, that's pretty crazy. Like, what if you stop your heart? But he shocks himself to undo the aversion therapy. He then goes to confront the real. He goes to confront number 12, who's living in his flat as number 6. A couple of thugs ask him for his password, and he beats them up. And then he goes in and confronts number 12, tricks him, disarms him, and gets him to reveal the password, which is the Schizoid Man. And number 12 tells him that his real name is Curtis. So number 12 then tries to escape and is mistaken by Rover, okay, who is referred to. I think this is the only episode where Rover is actually called Rover, where Rover kills him. So number 6 calls number 2. It says, "This is Curtis. Number 6 is dead. Rover got him." And so he's gonna try to escape. And let's see, I'm trying to remember the chain of events here. It doesn't really matter. Anyways, he doesn't get away. He makes a fatal flaw at the end of the episode where number 2 tells him to give his regards to Susan. All right, and he says, "I will," or something like that. He takes off in a helicopter, and then the helicopter turns around and lands, while he's blindfolded. And number 2's like, "Susan is dead." So that's how he got caught. He almost got away, but he got caught at the last second. But there is this whole thing where Allison meets him before he gets in the helicopter and basically says something along the lines of, "If I had a second chance, I wouldn't have done it again because it was an act of betrayal." So I think that she actually knows that number 6 is really number 6 and not number 12. At least it's implied. So I don't know how she failed the psychic test and succeeded, but it's basically hinting at the fact that she failed the psychic link test on purpose. So I don't know how they made that work, but yeah, it's an interesting episode. The thing that's really cool about this one is the visual look of number 6 and number 2. Number 6 is wearing his regular black jacket with the white stripe on the the thing, and number 12 is wearing a white jacket with a black stripe. So they're like inverted. It's like the black and the white, and it really reminded me of like the Spy versus Spy from the old Mad magazine. It was just kind of a cool visually striking image. And then they're using like the split screen or whatever so that Patrick McGoohan is playing both characters, which is always fun in science fiction. They did this on Star Trek a bunch of times where William Shatner's playing like 2 different James T. Kirk. So this is like a staple of science fiction shows. You always have to have the doppelganger episodes with the evil twin. And so they do it here, and it's pretty cool. So yeah, I really don't have a whole awful lot to say about this, but bringing it back to Star Trek, there is an episode of Star Trek The Next Generation that's titled The Schizoid Man, in which Lieutenant Commander Data is basically this other scientist dude that works on androids, downloads his consciousness into Data, and Data is overtaken by him. So there's kind of like this battle within Data between his real consciousness and this scientist who's downloaded his consciousness into Data. So it's kind of a throwback, or it gets his title from The Prisoner. Now, they wanted Patrick McGoohan to play the scientist in that episode of Star Trek The Next Generation. It's just a shame they didn't get him, because that would have been really cool to have Patrick McGoohan in that episode as the evil scientist. It's a shame that it didn't work. So there'll always be, when I watch that episode, it'll always just be like the missed opportunity that it was. They probably should have held off on filming that one. If they couldn't get Patrick McGoohan, they should have shelved it and kicked it back to season 3 to when they could get a hold of him. But I suppose they were having enough troubles in those first 2 seasons of Star Trek The Next Generation producing a decent show as is. So I don't know how many scripts they had floating around at that time. They probably couldn't hold off. So whatever. That's just a little interesting nugget. So I don't know. What do you guys think about this episode? I thought it was pretty cool. I like it. You know, we still got the alpha brainwave lamp thing that's over top of McGoohan's bed that's brainwashing him. So yeah, the show's trippy, man. Anyways, that's pretty much it. I ain't got a whole lot else to say about it. So be seeing you till next time.